Hello and welcome to my channel, Stitches with Love. My name is Elizabeth and this is where I share all about my knitting adventures on and off the needles. And I am finishing off the last little bit of the Christmas eggnog and it's delicious. Somehow it just tastes better in a fancy cup. Totally optional, but makes the experience way more enjoyable. Today, I have some mail to share with you, but before I do that, it's a little dark in here, so I'm going to adjust the light a little bit, and I'll be right back. Okay, that is way better. You can see a lot better, I think, now. So today I'm going to share a little bit of mail and a little bit about what's coming up this year as far as the knitting and some decisions that I have made. So if you're interested, grab a cup of whatever your drink of choice is this morning and come along with me. I love eggnog. It's one of those lovely seasonal things I get once a year and I enjoy it until it's gone, and then I do not buy it again until the following year. Makes it more enjoyable. All right, so the first thing I had to share is another Etsy purchase. This is from Charming Necessities. I don't remember if she calls these yarn bowls or yarn baskets. I can't remember, but anyway, it's just big enough to fit the sock yarn and your project, and you can fold it down, which I like. It just makes it a little easier to access the projects as I'm working on them. Then you can fold it back up. This would be really well suited to using if you're in one spot and you're not on the go. So if you're sitting at your favorite chair or your couch, or I work a desk job, and so this would be nice to just leave on my desk with my project, but carrying it around in a bag might be a little bit finicky unless you have it packed in such a way where it's not going to tump over and spill everything out. Just because there's nothing at the top to close it, which I'm fine with. I like a little variety. So that I don't think is going to be too much of an issue. I'll probably still put it in my bag and take it along with me. I'm not really worried about it. So that is my latest Etsy purchase from Charming Necessities. And the project that will eventually go into that bag is, I forgot to open this before I started. This is my January Yarnable. Isn't that gorgeous? The colors to me do not scream January. They really say February. Just because reds and whites and pinks really make me think of Valentine's Day, and there's nothing wrong with the way Yarnable does their yarn colors for their subscriptions. It makes it more fun for me to save something for a specific time, so it just doesn't bother me. But this is the main color in the subscription that I get, and it is called Chaos Coordinator. And then it came with a coordinating skein called Master of Disaster. It's kind of a soft gray color. It's really beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that lovely together? I think it's going to be beautiful. And then I will wind that up at some point and start another pair of socks. And then each Yarnable subscription box comes with a insert, and it just tells you the color of the yarn right here at the top, and then just some fun information. So there's a quote on here from Albert Einstein. It says, "Out of clutter, find simplicity," which I think is just perfect for somebody who knits all of the time. And then it says, there's a little fact down here. It says, "Did you know humans spot disorder faster than order? Which is why color cording your yarn can tame those sneaky mayhem moments before they even begin." And so it got me to thinking about color coordinating my yarn, which I did consider some time back, just to make it a little easier to go and find a color that I'm looking for. But I don't know how that would really be realistic in the space I currently have, because my office space is not very big. And I really do, out of respect for the rest of my family who also lives in this house, try to not let my knitting take over the entire house. And so I just need to be really mindful how I store my projects, how I store my yarn, my supplies, because it's not fair to let all of my knitting adventures spill out and take up their space that they deserve to have too. So we'll see. The yarn it's all in one bin right now, and it's fine that it's not color coordinated, but I really love the idea of putting up some kind of shelving or doing a basket system so I can look at it all the time and know at a glance what I have available. So just something to think about this year. Other things coming up this year. So there are going to be a little bit, are going to be, is going to be, how am I trying to word this in a way that makes sense? There are going to be some changes. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say in my knitting. Um, I'm really going to focus on what I have on the needles right now, and I'm either going to finish the projects I know that I can and want to, and there might be a couple that are going to just go unfinished, ripped out, and have the yarn reused for something else. The other decision that I have made in an effort to cut down on spending, my husband and I talked about some financial goals that we would like to achieve and how we might get there. And so, one of the things that I am going to be changing is what I'm spending on all of my knitting stuff, like these wonderful bags. I realized it is way too easy for me to spend hard earned money on things I don't really absolutely need, no matter how fun. So, even though I really enjoy and appreciate a good project bag and beautiful hand dyed yarns, it's really not a necessity. And when I got to thinking and looking through what I have a lot of beautiful project bags I enjoy using. But I don't really need a project bag for every month. And I have a lot of beautiful yarn that I need to work through, and I don't really need to buy more. Because I'm finding that having more stuff, and I'm talking about my knitting stuff, having more knitting things, while enjoyable and fun for me, eventually just leads to overwhelm with projects, overwhelm with trying to find room to store things. And it's not really fair to myself or enjoyable. And it's not fair financially to my family when we have other goals we need to work toward if I'm constantly spending just on my hobby. So I'm going to cease going onto Etsy for the year. I'm not going to buy any more project bags. And as far as the yarn goes, it'll be on an as needed basis. I have a really good supply of sock yarn right now, so I'm really not worried about running out. And I have a pretty good stash of worsted weight. So unless I really need to buy yarn for a specific project as I finish what's already on my needles, it's just not an expense that I think right now needs to be had. I am making two exceptions to that decision. The first, I'm not going to get rid of my monthly Yarnable subscription, which is how I get this yarn, but I'm getting this every month. And that's a pretty decent amount of sock yarn that builds up, especially since I'm not using it as soon as it comes in. The second exception I'm making to the rule is later in the year, much, much later. I would really like to purchase a knitting advent of some sort. There's a lot of companies out there that put out special advent boxes for knitters. they come with yarn or goodies or a special project. It's done a lot of different ways depending on who is putting it out. And it's way too early to even think about that right now because the people that have done yarn advents are just finishing up. They just had December really a few weeks ago, and it's way too early in the year to put anything out online for pre-orders. So that is my second exception, is much later in the year when yarn shop owners, small businesses that do knitting stuff are putting out advents for knitters. Then I will buy just one, but it will be on a very strict budget. There's a certain amount I'm not willing to go over, and we can discuss that later when it gets closer. But I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm looking for my Christmas Advent knitting, and I'm hoping it will be available and something I can do. And if not, that's okay. I will still enjoy knitting this year. I'll still enjoy my knitting coming up much later for Advent, whatever comes my way. So I think that's really all I have to share today as far as my knitting projects, the goals go, and my newest additions to my yarn collection. And I guess just to answer any questions that you might have been wondering about as far as what I'm knitting this year. So until next time, happy knitting, many blessings. And as always, if you like this video or you're curious about what I talk about, don't forget to subscribe. It's Stitches with Love, all one word, on YouTube. My name is Elizabeth, and I would love to see comments from you as far as anything you're curious about, what I like to knit. Share with me what you like to knit, what you would like me to talk about. This is just a creative outlet for me to share what's going on in my knitting adventures, but I'd love to hear from you too. Until next time, many blessings and happy knitting.